Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum students. In the last class we studied about different stages and periods of human growth and development. Today we will discuss about the differences between growth and development. You already know this that change is the law of nature and the term growth and development are often used interchangeably. When you are in teaching profession and before teaching any subject to your students, it is very important to possess a vast understanding of growth and development. It is very important for you to get deep understanding about the growth and development of a child. This knowledge is very important and crucial in helping you formulate ideal learning styles to disseminate various learning concepts. Remember one thing, that every child is different, every child is unique based on their abilities and cognitive development. By understanding such differences, you can break down your workload, your assignments and other stuff based on how you intend to ensure that content is understood with ease. Understanding the difference between growth and development is also important, as you can make a behavioral assessment plans for your class, for your students, and implement it based on your students' mental and cognitive skills. When we are talking about the difference between growth and development, we should keep some points in our mind. First of all, growth refers to physiological changes. It generally refers to increase in size and length, etc. On the other hand, development refers to overall changes in the individual. It involves changes in orderly and coherent type towards the goal of maturity. It is related to improved working and functioning. So, we have talked about already about cognitive development, about socio-emotional development, all these developments. So, this is not just physiological thing. So, changes in the quantitative respect is termed as growth. For example, increase in size, increase in length, increase in height, weight, and expansion of your vocabulary. On the other hand, development refers to changes in the quality along with quantitative aspect. So it includes both aspects, qualitative as well as quantitative. It implies the overall changes occurring in both aspects. Another point is that growth does not continue throughout life. It stops when maturity has been attained. Growth stops after maturation. Growth takes place within a limited scope of time. So you can observe this thing in your life. If we are talking about height, if we are talking about weight, if we are talking about brain size, so this is not increasing all the time. In maturity, you gain the maximum height, and after that, you are not increasing your height. On the other hand, the process of human development continues throughout life. Development is a wider and comprehensive term and refers to overall changes in the individual. So this is a continuous process. This is a never-ending process. It continues throughout life and it is progressive. Development takes place within a vast scope of time. So this is a continuous process. You are developing in your each domain and this is a never-ending process. Another difference is that growth occurs due to multiplication of cells. On the other hand, development occurs due to both maturation and interaction with the environment. Another point is that growth is one of the part of the developmental process. Development in its quantitative aspect is termed as growth. So, growth is under the developmental process. It is a part of developmental process. On the other hand, development is a wider and comprehensive term that refers to overall changes in the individual and it is the complex process. In the previous lectures, we have talked about it, that human growth and development, especially development, is a very complex process. Another difference is that growth may be referred to describe the changes in a particular aspect of the body and behavior of the organism. On the other hand, development is a wider and comprehensive term which refers to overall changes in the individual, and we have talked about it in the previous slides. It describes the changes in the organism as a whole. Then another big difference is that the changes produced by growth are subjects of measurements. They may be quantified and observable in nature. For example, if we are talking about height, if we are talking about weight, these things are very easily measurable. We can get accurate measurement of these aspects. On the other hand, when we are talking about development, so development brings qualitative changes which are very difficult to measure directly. They are assessed through keen observation of behavior in different situations. For example, if we want to measure the emotional development, if we want to measure the social development, if we want to measure the cognitive or other types of developments, so this is not so straightforward. We need special tools, we need special observations, we need special instruments to measure these aspects. So, in this way, it is not easy to measure the development. The next point is that growth may or may not bring development, because this is a very limited aspect. On the other hand, development is possible without growth. Another difference is that growth tells about one aspect of personality, but in limited scope. Its scope is confined to those aspects of one's personality in which quantitative changes occur. So in growth, we are just talking about quantitative changes. On the other hand, development deals with all the aspects of personality and has a vast scope. It relates to all types of changes including physical changes, mental development, social changes, emotional changes or development, and moral. So, you can compare the scope of both. So, the term growth carries a limited and narrow meaning. On the other hand, the term development carries a wider meaning. For example, when we are studying the physical development of a person, we do not aim to describe the changes in the size of the physical organs, but also study the impact of these changes in the terms of improvement in the working and functioning in the society. So this is very important. So in growth, we are just looking some physical aspect, some measurable aspects. But in development, we are also looking at the improvement in the working and functioning of a person. Another main difference is that growth is not affected by learning. For example, if we are talking about increase in height, so it is not affected by learning. The person who is going to school or who is going to university, or a person who is not going to school or he is not going to university, they may have same heights. So there is no difference. So it is not affected by learning. On the other hand, if we are talking about development, so in development, learning and experiences are affecting. You can take the example of, for example, emotional development or social development or cognitive development. So, of course, the learning experiences are influencing. The experiences of child are influencing this development. So, this is very clear that development is affected by learning and experiences. Then another point is that growth is external in nature. Regardless of your location or occupation, you can observe your child's growth based on visible external features. For example, increase in size of hands, increase in size of ears, and much more. So this is something external in nature, regardless of your location or anything else. On the other hand, if we are talking about development is internal in nature. For example, it requires a comprehensive evaluation of child's reasoning, creativity, and innovation to ascertain their development status. So this is very important. This is something internal. It's not just external. It is an internal process. So these are the main differences of human growth and development. So now you can understand the concept of growth and the concept of development is not similar. So, since growth is limited to the description of quantitative changes, its scope is confined to those aspects or dimensions of one's personality in which quantitative changes occur. As a result, in dealing with those aspects or dimensions of personality where both the quantitative and qualitative changes are involved, the term growth is not employed. And on the other hand, development as a comprehensive term relates to all type of changes that can be employed to describe the changes in all dimensions of one's personality, whether these are physical changes, whether these are mental changes, cognitive changes, social changes, or moral changes. That is why, whereas we come across descriptions like physical growth and development, mental growth and development in these titles of the text, we seldom come across these in the case of the social, emotional, and moral aspects of the personality. Here we usually drop the term growth and refer simply to social, emotional, and moral development, since the quantitative changes in these aspects are not as directly observable and measurable as in the physical and mental aspects. Therefore, we talk of development in one or the other dimensions of one's personality. So it is clear that we are describing and explaining the overall changes in the structure and functioning of that particular aspect. So the growth stops when maturity has been attained, while development is a continuous process. It starts right from conception. It does not end with the attainment of maturity, but continues throughout the entire lifespan of an individual. So that's why we say that development is a very complex process in comparison to the process of growth. The results of the growth in terms of quantitative changes are very specific, fairly easy to observe and measurable. The results of development in comparison are very complex and difficult as far as their actual assessment and measurement is concerned. So, this was the main idea of the difference between growth and development. I hope you have understanding about this now.